who pays on time, who treats you nice, who still feeds you, even though like it's not asked for, but it was a 10-hour shoot. And they hand you a little sandwich. Amazing.
Talk to me dirty.
Hello, and welcome back to this week's episode of You Up to My App. I'm Erica Starr, and today I'm here with
JP.
And today we are talking all things growth and the places your brain goes when you think about creativity, what it means to be a creator, and all that good stuff. So let's just dive right into it. So tell me about how you got to where you are now. Like, you work with Nikon, but you're also a breakdancer, and some people might be a little confused, like, wait, what's his thing? So just tell me about it.
It's so funny because I get that a lot, like, especially for like the new followers that tune into like my channel. They're like, you know, they're used to seeing photography if you're new to the page, but then they see like me doing flips and they're like, wait, what?
Yeah.
But I began roughly about 11 years ago as a breakdancer. I left my parents' house at 17. And after I left, it was like over an argument. My mom was like, you know, if you think you're all grown up to do whatever you want, then move out. And she thought I was going to kid around. And yeah, I packed my bag, I put my favorite toy, and I walked out. And, you know, it was kind of one of those things where I had to figure it out. Like, I made the choice to go out there and face the world. So I became a street performer, like one of those guys in Times Square.
Oh,
yeah,
okay. The ones
guys.
that takes our money.
Yeah. I took your money once upon a time. So yeah, I was one of those guys for roughly about a year and a half. And I just met people that were dancers as well. And one of my friends was like, hey, Jay, you should audition for this. And I had no idea what I was getting myself into. I go to this audition, and it was a 3-day process. They made cuts every day. On the last day, Madonna walks into the room.
Oh, okay.
And I'm like, why is Madonna in the room? And one of the guys goes, this is for the Madonna Heartbreak Tour. And I was like, oh. So after that, I got picked. I went on tour. And when I came back, that's kind of like when I decided, wow, I can make a living off dance. I loved it. So, you know, breakdancing has been just one of it's my first love. I always say it's my first love. I did that for the last literally 11 years. And when COVID happened, I was on a cruise ship doing a dancer contract, and the entertainment industry disappeared completely.
Yeah.
I came back to the States, and it was kind of like wondering where my career was going to go, how I was going to make money. And, you know, I also got a really bad injury on my shoulder. So the way I kept dance close to me was posting on Instagram my journey on the cruise ships. You know, I was in all these cool ports like Monaco, France, Italy. And I always document it with my phone and a GoPro. And I started posting just me doing flips at the beach.
Yeah.
And one random messenger was like, hey, can you do this with a Nikon camera? And I was like, I guess.
Yeah.
And then I get an email from a sales rep at Nikon like, hey, we want to offer you an opportunity to work with our latest camera at the time. And I was like, yeah. They shot it to me. I shot my first project with it. They loved it. And after that, they came back with another camera. And they were like, we loved your first one.
Yeah.
Here's another one.
That's crazy.
And then that's how I like started falling in love with photography.
So did you know how to work a camera before that?
Absolutely not. No, I dove into, so I had a span of 2 weeks to shoot this project. And I had no idea what ISO shutter speed or any of this thing was. So I went on YouTube University.
Yeah, as we all do.
They owe me like 10 diplomas. So I dove into YouTube and I learned from like the greats of Peter McKinnon.
Yeah.
Come on, the guy's amazing.
It's hard to not come across his stuff.
I promise I'm not a fanboy. Here I am wearing his ring.
You're like, anyways.
No, manifesting working with him very soon. So fingers crossed. But I started diving into YouTube and how to work a camera. And that's kind of how I started figuring out how to work the camera and how to involve dance in this new realm that I was diving into. So that's how all of that kind of started.
Oh, wow. I mean, I think one of my biggest questions is like, how do you feel like you can successfully incorporate dance into photography? Just because I think of dance and I'm thinking videos. And I noticed that a lot of your stuff, it's just like, it's the stills of, you know, your backflips and all that cool stuff. And just like you in these weird contorted positions. And I'm like, yo, how do you get a picture of that? Because I've, you know, I did my stalking before the pod. And I was just like, I've always wondered, like, is that just like a high shutter speed and he's taking a picture mid-video, or he got some weird mechanisms going on behind screen? Like, how and why do you think that getting a still, at least this is from what I'm assuming from your page, why do you think getting a still is, I want to say, more appropriate of a way to capture dance than video?
Video is cool. I feel like everyone, especially nowadays with, you know, TikTok and Instagram, they're so used to the short-term, quick videos and swiping through it. But there's just a certain magic about capturing a moment that happens in a millisecond and you captured it. Like that's where the dancer in me was like, oh, what if I can capture a moment where like my hand is literally leaving the floor and there's that little bit of space and you capture that. And obviously with a high shutter speed, I was able to do that. But I started incorporating video and then freezing the moment in a photo and then bringing it back to life into a video. So that's where like that whole style came out. And I can say I was one of the first persons to incorporate that. And I mean, Nikon trademarked it, so I can say that. You can Google it. But that's where I felt like photography had that magic that video isn't able to, I guess, deliver.
Yeah. You know, and that, like, to me, this is just interesting because you're speaking to somebody who's like a mainly video person, and photography is just something I dabble in. And for me, I've always respected photographers because people like to say like, oh, like videographers are uppity in comparison to photographers and vice versa. Like it's always just like that back and forth between like the two types of creatives. And I think that there's a lot to give props to on both sides, because I've always said that with photography, like, because I do events, I think about how stressed the photographer is at the wedding when, you know, the bride and groom are going to kiss. And that happens for all of like 2 seconds sometimes. Like sometimes they don't want to make a scene and you just hope that they do. You hope that they hold that kiss for like 10 minutes, you know?
Like, let's see how much your love is.
Come on. Clearly, you know. So I always think about that because I'm just like, I feel like for a photographer, you have to understand a camera because you're preparing the camera for the moment and you have to know what that moment needs.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I feel like with video is very different, where you work with what you get, with what you have and the situations you're dealt with, because it's like, you can set up a camera for photography to be like well suited for that one shot and like the lighting and all that, and for your ISO and all that to just make the shot look the way that you need it to. But with video, if I'm getting a shot and somebody turns off a light mid-shot, like the client or, you know, whoever I'm recording for has to understand like the circumstances were changed mid-shot, and you're not going to get the whole clip if I just work with whatever looked best. So I feel like for photography, there's such a heavy weight on you, or just like pressure from the client to get the shot all the time.
Yeah, no, especially because, I mean, as a videographer, you have your settings prepped and they're not changing. You know, they're not changing unless you're like outside and the sun just got blocked by the clouds, then you can kind of raise your ISO. But for photography, you're constantly changing. Especially me, when I started learning photography, it was run and gun. Like, I used to grab my camera, go out to the city and just shoot a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
So whether that was a portrait and then you see this really cool car flying by at 60, now you got to really quick change your shutter and get that photo. So it's like you're constantly doing this on the camera.
Yeah.
It's like,
getting arthritis.
Oh my God. Arthritis from breakdancing and camera switching. Oh,
yeah. Poster boy.
I see it coming. Stop.
I'm sorry, my bad. No, even me when I'm editing, because I edit on a trackpad. I don't edit with the mouse. So everyone's like,
nice.
Yo, what is up with your fingers? Like, are you okay? And I'm like, they're hurting, but I'm getting through it, you know? That's another thing too. Like, I feel like the video editing process and then like the photo editing process are two very different things. Like,
huge.
For me, like when I started getting into photos, like I only edit on Lightroom. I don't do anything extra with Photoshop. For me, it's more like, but it's also because of my stance on videography, where I'm very much like, get what's in the moment. Don't add anything. Don't take anything away. But just enhance what's there.
I love that. I love that.
That's my stance on that. So in Lightroom, like I noticed that because of it, this is also because of like how my brain works. Like I work in phases. So it's like I'm going to run through 60 photos, but for all of them, I'm only doing like your basic corrections.
Yeah.
And then the next phase is just like, okay, we're getting any little blemishes or whatever. I mean, and I'm rambling here, but that's obviously one of the last phases. But, you know, then you're getting into like, I guess what would be my version, I would call it color grading for the photo. Like if they want like that warm feel and all that good stuff.
The orange,
and then you get into the masking. It's like, all these flowers can be brighter in every photo. So we're going to ramp that up on every picture, but it's not a copy paste thing because you have to remask every single time. And AI is not amazing at masking sometimes.
Oh no. They're not.
And so, like I feel like for photos, like it's a lot more tedious, but the one thing I think you guys got over us is you can listen to music while editing. And I think that is something that you guys take for granted.
Okay. I'm about to surprise you.
What?
Because when I edit my videos, I'm listening to music. And this is where the dancer also comes in. And it's funny we're talking about this because I explained to you what like the dancer in me does in photography. But when I edit videos, let's say the video is you literally taking a sip from a cup. So it's usually this.
Yeah.
But I'll be like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 to whatever beat I'm listening to. So that's where my speed ramps usually like take place. I speed ramp your movement to whatever track I'm listening to or inspired to create to.
Okay, but you still have music on. But because are you referring to the track that's playing for the video or or whatever is just on?
Sometimes I don't know what song I'm going to use.
Okay.
So I'll play a playlist and I'll just be skimming back and forth through footage and whatever song comes up that I'm like, ooh, this is the vibe for this video. That's what I usually end up editing to. Yeah.
So you don't start off with the song.
No.
You're just going by like the beats in your head.
Yeah.
And see that? I mean, I wouldn't mind trying that though, because I feel like that's like the hardest thing. It's when you have to pick a song and sometimes you're so stressed about picking a song first and then you edit to the song and you're like, this wasn't given the feel that I intended.
I blame the trend because people tend to say, okay, especially when you're creating for social media, you want your video to do good.
Yeah.
So you're going off the trending audios and everybody's videos is kind of like the same.
Yeah.
But I feel like for me, I don't care if I go viral. I think for me it's the mood, the feeling of you watching a video and it's so moody, like it's more intimate, it's more intentional. So when I have people watching videos, I want them to feel like they're in it.
Yeah. You know, that was one thing I wanted to say. Like as a creator, I feel like, especially to touch on that point, you have to know who you're creating for and know that it's a very niche audience. But once they find you and you find them, you're golden.
100%.
Because my thing with video has always been like, I would rather the cinematic approach than like the fast, trendy TikTok stuff. Because my whole, like when I watch a movie, like I just like feeling things. And if I can do that by like, you know, the perfect music and the perfect color grading and just like, and it's a slow video, you're doing it for people who have the time and who are willing to watch. And I think that's the hard thing for people to go viral or to find those people when we're in a world of like super like clicky bait and, you know, just snappy kinds of clips.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, I think that was something that I had to learn like really early on, that not everybody's going to like your stuff. And it's not because it's not good. It's just because it's not their taste and it's not the masses' taste.
I mean, the truth is not everybody appreciates art. And, you know, when it comes to videography, like there's just so many elements, the visuals, the color grading, the sound effects, adding sound effects completely
oh my gosh,
evolves your clip. Like
you can have the same 30-second clip. I said clip.
clip.
You can have a 30-second clip or a 10-second clip, whatever, and it'll feel so much faster if you add all the sound effects. Like if like that stuff amazes me. Like not that nobody knows, but nobody understands like movie trailers. If you look at you know, somebody's like premiere screenshot or whatever of a movie trailer, there's one guy I follow, I forget his name, but his timelines always look crazy. And he's got like 10 tracks worth of sound effects. And I'm like, oh my God, this is fucking insane. Yeah. Dude, oh my God. I think those things are so freaking cool. But yeah, I feel like people aren't thinking about those things. Like one time I was with one of my friends and he was watching Ozark and he said something like, oh, like the show, like it always feels so like moody and tense. I was like, because everything's blue and green.
Oh yeah.
He was like, what? So the whole time he was completely unaware that everything felt blue and green. He was like, oh, like he was like, just once the show starts, like my eyes adjusted to the show, and that's just kind of how it felt. And I was
Yeah.
like, oh my gosh, like,
Yeah.
and to me, I think that's something obvious. And I'm just like, no, there are people who are watching, and they're just like, no, it's just how the show looks.
Yeah.
I'm like,
there's certain movies like that who shot it, Michael Bay,
mm-hmm.
the anamorphic blue lights. I mean, beautiful.
And I feel like color grading is another thing that's not appreciated enough, because I feel like because there's a reason that a colorist is a whole separate job.
Oh, 100%.
That is something that I learned like in college, and I was just like, why do you need a colorist? And they were like, one of my professors, he was just like, try color grading this the way that this person did it. And I tried like the mimicking as much as possible. And I was like, all right. Because then you realize, I feel like I thought that color grading was the whole screen. I didn't realize they were using masks. I think that was the biggest misconception for me. And I was like, this is disgusting.
Yeah.
This is crazy.
Yeah.
But I appreciate that now.
And I think it's also like, there's levels to it. Because if you're just color grading a car, like it's kind of easy.
Yeah.
But when you're color grading skin and everybody has different skin tones.
People are turning green. People turning orange. Then, I feel like colorists understand undertones more than anybody. Have a colorist work at a Sephora. They will know your undertones real quick.
Bruh.
It's
makeup artistry. Crazy.
Yeah, no. And that's, oh my gosh, color theory is a whole other thing. Like when two colors, and it's such a simple concept that it's like, okay, this yellow is going to look dull on this color, but it's going to look super bright next to this one. I feel like that's so important to understand.
Yeah.
I feel like people don't get that, because even with even product photography, or if you're like at events and stuff, like there's a reason that things feel a certain way, and it's because of the contrast between colors and just how close on the color wheel they are. And I just think that all those things are so important, because believe it or not, that's another thing too when it comes to art. I feel like people don't understand that these things can get incorporated into your daily life.
Yeah.
Like me, I get my nails done funky colors all the time. And there was a point where I was like, okay, I need a nail tech who is a nail artist and not just your regular nail tech, because there are people who do it for money, and there are people who
love it.
Yeah, there are people that I go and I'm like, hey, like, can you like freestyle something, and I'll just trust your judgment on the colors. And then they're asking me like, do you like this and do you like this? An artist knows what works. And I feel like, after I've gone to someone where I'm like, hey, this is the general feel I want, do what you want to my nails. And they just go insane, and it's beautiful, but it's like, it's nothing I could have thought of.
Yeah.
And I know that this is like such a girly example with nail techs, but that's the difference between like content creators and artists.
Yep.
I feel like it's the same thing. And I know that you've been rebranding, and you've been making new types of content more catered to what you say is more intentional. So I want you to tell me more about that.
It's so funny because like throughout this whole time, I've done I've worked with a lot of like huge car brands. I've worked with Red Bull, who's one of my clients, and I've shot like celebrities and events, and I've done weddings. Oh my God, they're nightmares.
I love me a wedding though. See, the chaos is beautiful.
I will shoot for you, but I will not edit. Oh my God, it's so much fun. But I've done all like the hiring jobs, and it just came to a place for me where I felt like unfulfilled. I felt like, okay, I'm making money and this is cool and all, but like, I don't want to be labeled as a photographer, especially like being part of Nikon and being in a room full of like other photographers and videographers that are so knowledgeable in the field, and they've been doing it for 10, 15 years. And I've been doing it for 4 years, and they're talking all these technical stuff. And then I get that imposter syndrome of like,
yes,
okay, what are they talking about? And I can maybe Google it and like chime in. But again, I didn't feel fulfilled, and I was like, I started this as a dancer. Let me take it back, because I felt like I was falling out of love.
And stick to what you know.
Yeah. So I was like, why did I fall in love with breakdancing? There's the art behind it. There's the feel of defying gravity and levitation, and all that is artsy. Why did I combine photography and dance and felt so great about it? And why am I feeling this way now? So then I had to come back to the art part of it. Capturing something in a freeze frame motion is art. So I started like thinking, okay, how can I also level up my work? And that's where like, I've met a couple of artist friends that have amazing art, shout outs to Seven Souls Deep. Like he's one of my boys, and he was the one that reminded me like, dude, like I've reached out to you because your photography says something that not a lot of other photographers like are putting out. And it was just a deliverance of like invoking an emotion.
Yeah.
Like, how do you feel looking at this picture? It could be a photo of a sneaker in the air, but the way it's angled, the way the background looks, and art is subjective.
Yeah.
So you can look at a photo of a sneaker and feel some type of way, and somebody else can feel a whole other different way. So that's where I was like, what if I had an art gallery full of like my pieces, but they were just one of one, and that's where they live. They're not even posted online. And that's where I started falling back in love with it. I'm like, wow, I love this feeling.
Yeah.
Like, this is what I want. That's where I want to be.
And
Because
continue.
Art Basel a couple of years ago,
Yeah.
somebody sold an invisible sculpture for $30,000. It was a base that said invisible sculpture. Somebody believed they could do it, and somebody said, I have the money to buy this.
That's crazy. I saw something at the moment one time, and it was like it was like a 2 text message bubbles. One had the 3 dots as if it was still typing, and then the other one said something along the lines of like, "Oh, you think that you could do something like this, but you didn't."
Oof.
And it was just
Damn.
like, yeah, and then it had like in the blurb it had said something about like how it sold for like a shit ton of money to somebody before or whatever. And I was just like, that is so true. And like as like Tumblr as it feels, and as like corny as like the idea of that photo feels, it's not a lie. And I think this is just me being not subjective, me just thinking about, the art in all the different ways it was meant to be thought about. But it's like, it was written in text bubbles because I'm pretty sure it was to appeal to somebody who was younger, who thought like, like, I can't do something like that. Or look at all these people, they're doing things that I can do, and you're just not doing it. So whose fault is that?
Yeah.
And I think that it's said enough without doing much. And I think that that's what art's meant to do, of all sorts. And that's why I try to do with video, even for me, like, I record people and I record weddings and stuff, but I make it very clear to the people I record that I'm just like, I'm doing this in the way that I do it. Like, It's like, if you tell me you want something editorial and Vogue-like and you want me to pose you, that's not what I do.
Right.
And I can say no to people and say like, no, what you're looking for isn't what I'm into creating, but I know people who do it, and I can send you over their Instagrams gladly, because I'm not gonna do something just for the money, especially when I know that I can't even fulfill what you're asking for. It's also a thing of like, I am going to create in the way that I'm comfortable, and I'm going to create in the way that I'm passionate about, because that's the only way I'll create my best work. I'm not creating my best work if you want something that I don't want to say I don't care about, but I truly don't, because I think about my own wedding, and I think about how I don't want you to remember me telling you, can you pose like that one more time? Can you make that motion with the bouquet one more time? That's what you're going to remember when you look at the video. You're going to be like, oh my God, that videographer who just kept on telling me what to do. I always want people to see in their wedding videos the moments that they would have forgotten had I not recorded them, because they were so in it.
Yeah.
Like when they're laughing at a joke and they're like, oh my God, what was I laughing at? And then they think back with, their wife or their husband. They're like, oh my God, it was when so-and-so made this joke. Like, I want to make you,
because candid moments.
Yeah, because some people do things to make people feel things, and that's great. But for me, it's more, I want you to remember. And that's why, I'm like moments by Star. My whole thing is like, I want you to remember the moments that you would have forgotten if it wasn't for me. That's what I'm selling you. I'm selling you back your memory.
That's dope.
But
and I appreciate that you are like that. And it also just shows how much appreciation you have for each individual art. Because like, I remember reading like something like years back ago when I was just full-time dancing, and it was a little bit of a controversy in the ballet world. So I think it was Vogue. Vogue had hired one of the Kardashians, right? To like do a ballerina shoot. Yeah. Mind you, she has no training in ballet. You know where I'm getting with
Yes,
this.
okay.
Right. So her form was off. Like, from what I heard, the photographers were like, bro, she can't do this. Meanwhile, other ballerinas that
have worked their whole
blisters
lives
on their feet, aching for a chance to be featured in Vogue, and they don't get looked at?
Yeah.
That's wild.
No, I could only imagine. No, yeah, that, I feel the same way when, and this is like, not exactly in the same vein, but kind of when like any female celebrity posts like a workout video, and there's so many things wrong with it. It's just like, well, one, you didn't get that body from working out. Two, your form is insane. Your back is rounded. You think that booty bands is what got you that No, they didn't. Like, they're not lifting crazy weights. They're just lifting like 10 pounds here and there. And I'm like, no, you don't get thighs like that. And I feel disrespected because then there's people like me where, not to say I wanted to be in those videos, but just that I know what it takes to get certain bodies, and the fact that they're promoting it in that way. It's just like, no, that's not how you get there. And you're disrespecting everybody who worked really hard to.
Yeah.
So I think that, it's the same thing with like that ballerina shoot, because I feel like it's just disrespectful. Like, when there are people who know how to do the damn thing, let them do it. It's the same thing with movies when they have people with like disabilities. It's like, why do you have an abled person in a wheelchair where I'm sure there are people in wheelchairs who are actors and you could have easily casted them, but you wanted whoever is like hot in Hollywood right now? Like, it doesn't make sense.
Oh my God. Yeah. No. Listen, that's a whole different world we could dive into as far as like, man.
When were you born?
94.
Okay, I think you just made the cut of not being Gen Z. I'm 2000. So
I
like,
think you just made the cut.
Yeah, no, I'm saying you just made the cut of like not being Gen Z. I'm a little in it. I think even 99 is still Gen Z. Like, I'm not a fan of it. And in full on Gen Z fashion, I don't identify with the group.
Look, I'm just saying, like, we were a society that our best movies were Scary Movie 1, 2, 3, 4, South Park,
the more offensive,
Family
the better.
Guy.
Yeah.
And I mean, we laughed about it. And, the funny thing is that a lot of these jokes and stereotypes were written by people of those, those groups.
Yeah.
So it's not like you can cancel them. Like, we found it funny. Why isn't it funny now?
Yeah. No, even they're just, I don't know. I got a whole lot of opinions, and
it's a heavy topic.
Yeah, like,
please don't cancel
like,
us.
like, nah. For me, I'm like, Dave Chappelle's still funny. Like, why did we cancel him? What was up with that? Like, there's just a lot of things, and it sucks that anything that's still offensive and funny is only around because it's been around for years, and it's just people will just accept it. Like, okay, that's been around. It's got seniority, I guess, and offensiveness, and like the ones you name, like South Park and Family Guy and stuff. But I don't know. My rule is like, for as long as you're making fun of everybody, go crazy.
What's that comedian that he does mad crowd work? Matt
Rife. You know, his lips dissolved. He said he never got lip filler.
Nah, he's sculpted.
Yeah,
he's definitely sculpted. My boy Chris knows him. Like, Chris Sosa, shout out to Chris Sosa. Just had an amazing special on Tubi.
Yes, he did.
Oh my God, love seeing it. But he's a good friend of Matt, and he's like, yeah, it's like a Pokemon. It's evolved over the years.
No, my dad has a picture with him from like Wildin' Out back in like, I want to say 2018 or 2017. And my dad found out that like I liked his comedy, and my dad was like, I got a picture with him. He pulled it up, and I was like,
that's him.
Wow.
Yeah,
he was all skinny and small. And I was like, aw.
Yeah.
But
I used to be a dancer on TRL when they brought it back on MTV, and he was like one of the hosts. Literally when they brought it back on MTV.
No, because I went for my 18th birthday in 2018.
Okay. Was there like a special
It was Rich Homie Quan. That was the guy. Rest in peace.
But when I was dancing on it, it was Matt Rife, DC Youngfly, some other chick, I forgot her name. But I was on the segment where Miguel like released Pineapple Skies. You see me like vibing in the background and stuff.
That is so cool.
Yeah. But he looked completely different, 100%. So
I got my little 5 seconds of fame because they were just pulling girls from the crowd. They were like, "You're gonna dance in the back," and I was like, "Okay."
Hey.
Nice.
Nice.
That was my little. And I was freshly 18. For me, I was like, "I'm famous."
Hey.
But that's the most I get. My other TV appearance was when I was 11 or 12. Do you remember when Nickelodeon used to have it was like a news thing with Linda Ellerby? It was like a random thing they had going on. It was an episode about animal abuse. And when I was in middle school, I was a part of this like animal abuse, like puppy rescue group. And they pulled us so that we could talk about how unfairly we believe animals are treated in like the circus and the zoos and stuff. I was there. I was talking for 20 minutes. They used like 6 seconds. I'm exaggerating, maybe even 3. And it was in the intro segment. And I had just said, like, I think it's really bad. And they said, next thing. I was like, what?
That's just TV. Like, TV does that. Yeah.
That was my first ever interaction with what I learned later in life, the whole like kill your darlings, where it's like, you gotta, no matter how, I mean, obviously I don't think an editor had me as like a favorite at all, but I was my own favorite. That's where I'm coming from. But I feel like that's something that when you're working and you're only getting paid for a certain amount of photos or videos or whatever, and you gotta like start cutting things down. Like there have been times that I've I've had like 7 minutes of video and I'm only getting paid for something that's 2 minutes. And I'm just like, but there's so much good stuff in here. But then you also got to think about your worth and you're like, it also depends on the client. It always depends on the client. If you're working with somebody who is just lovely, who pays on time, who treats you nice, who still feeds you, even though like it's not asked for, but it was a 10-hour shoot and they hand you a little sandwich. Amazing.
Talk to me dirty.
That is the client. No, it's so great. I did a wedding once. They got me a bacon, egg, and cheese. They got me a plate and some leftovers. I was like, wow, what a time. Those clients can get whatever they want, whenever they want. I don't tell them that, but I always throw in extra photos, extra clips, extra whatever.
Same.
But if you're not that client, if you're the complete opposite and you're paid for a 2-minute video, you're getting a 2-minute video. And in those times, that's when I got to learn, like, as much as I love this, kill your darlings and, chop off all the excess, all the fat.
Oh my God. Especially nowadays, everybody wants these reels and they make you do 8-hour shoots to compile them into 30 seconds.
Yep.
Bruh.
And I'm like, at least ask for 20 videos because when you're shooting, you can feel out the scenes.
100%.
Like,
Yeah.
And it's just like, you're asking me to like compress this. And it's like, how much of a story can I possibly tell in 20 seconds? And like for some, that's a challenge because it's like, it's true. Like you can do it and it takes skill to do it. But at the same time, it's like some stories need more time.
Oh yeah.
And some of them, like you want to set it up nicely and you want the establishing shots and you want to make it cinematic. And they're like, no. Or when you send, this personally bothers me. I don't know if it bothers you. But when you send in a reel and they just completely change the song.
Okay, we're about to get into that topic.
Let's go.
Listen, whenever I do a video, they put filters on it. They put a different song on it. You send them photos fully edited because it took you 3 days to edit everything.
Yeah.
And then they go, can I have the raws, please? Bruh, mátate. Listen, yeet yourself.
Yes.
You didn't pay me enough.
Yep. And my thing is, the raws look disgusting. At least mine do. For as long as the shoot wasn't shot in the sunlight, it's like
blown out.
I'm working with a lot here. And when I've never sent in raws. What I'll do is I'll show the client how things look on the camera and let them be disgusted and let them be like, you sure this is gonna look good later? And then they get their amazing photos. Never ask for the raws.
So one thing that I started doing was, it's also a challenge to myself, but also like kind of reprogramming the client's mind is I tell them from the start of the shoot, I'm shooting in a format of like film. You know, back in the days when you shot film, you didn't know what the photos look like until you developed them. Yeah. So that's what I do. I shoot. I don't even look at them. I just try my best to shoot. I know I got the shot and they'll see it when it's edited. That's it. Don't be like, hey, you remember that shot with the leg up? No, I don't know what you're talking about. Nope.
That's one thing that I will say to anybody who hires a photographer, videographer, whatever. You're hiring them because you trust them. You're hiring them because you looked at their portfolio and you said, I really like what you put together. Trust that because that's what they do, that they're going to do exactly that for your shoot. If they didn't include a certain picture, if they didn't include a certain clip, video, whatever, it's either because you look terrible or the shot was terrible, or it's just something that, once you watch back, you probably wouldn't want that in your complete video or in your photo gallery.
And also you got to think about it like this. Like if you hired me to do your shoot and then I gave you the raws because you asked for it and you completely obliterate it with some Instagram filter, a lot of people are going to see it. And if it looks like crap, they're going to be like, who shot this?
Yep.
Get your money back. And my name's attached to that.
Yeah.
That's my art. So respect it, So please, guys, just don't ask for raws.
Yeah.
Work on them.
And honestly, that's the worst part. No, that is the worst part. The fact that your name's attached to it, because it's like, in the same way that you can, get passed around the friend group as like the family videographer, photographer, whatever, because your stuff is good, you can just as easily get like blackballed by like a whole community of people because they're like, oh, that's the one that did that picture. And it sucks because your clients are people who don't understand what you do. That's why they're hiring you. But when somebody's a fellow videographer, photographer, or whatever, and then they hire you, they know exactly what's going on. If anything, sometimes they help you, or like they know when like the lighting is like super harsh for whatever. And they're like, we should move, right? And right before I even have to tell you or direct you to do so. It's amazing. It's great. Yeah. And I hope I get more like those. So this is my call out, actually. If you want to work, let's work.
Let's do it.
But oh my gosh, I can go on for days about, or like when they give edits that are very vague and they're like, something feels off here, like just give us some pizzazz, like just make it different. What do you mean? Because my different and your different are different. Like, and I think that I finally like got over that hump when I just told them maximum 3 revisions. You got to think really hard about what your revisions are because you're only paying for 3 at most.
Wow, did you give 3?
That's
I
when
get 1.
No, okay, no, 1 is hard because, okay, so generally, I think everyone deserves 2 because if you didn't understand what they meant by 1, let's say you executed it in a way that like wasn't what they meant, they have that chance to clear up what they said. But you shouldn't be giving anything new. Like there's nothing you shouldn't have caught in the first cut that you're adding on the second. Because now you're just being like, oh, I can tell somebody what to do and you're power tripping. The third is for anything that it's not that I'm not confident in, it's because I know it's such a big project that I want you to tell me everything that you feel off about because I want you to promote this because of the platform it's going to be on or because of the reach that I know that this is going to get. Because when it's like small family things, sometimes they don't care about stuff and it's like, it's not worth that extra color grade. It's not worth that extra whatever because they're already beyond ecstatic.
Use a flash.
Yeah.
Pop. Here you go.
Yeah. Like that's what's nice about working with like smaller families, but smaller families, smaller groups, whatever, just something that isn't going to get thousands of eyes on them.
Yeah.
But you know, there's pros and cons when you go up the ladder of clients.
Yeah.
Definitely pros and cons.
You know, I've learned to fire your clients, not let them say that they fired you. Just because it's just as clients feel like, oh, this photographer is not good enough. Like sometimes clients are not good enough. They just, how you expect, okay, you're hiring me to capture images of you and you want to portray yourself as a model. You also have to do the job. You want to be a model? Learn how to model, learn how to turn your body, learn your angles. Yeah. Don't just like sit there and like
tell me what to do.
They complain that the photos look the way they do. You're giving me the same energy I'm giving you, type thing, you know? So it's like one of those.
Because your job's to take the photo. Because that's a whole other thing. I don't know. His name is like David something. I forget his last name. Like his whole job is like teaching people how to be more confident with their posing. Like people don't understand that there is a science to the angles in your body and 100%. How many triangles you create and stuff. And it's like, I'm just a photographer. I'm here to take the photos. I can give suggestions on what looks good for the scenario that we're in. But I'm not a model. Yeah. And there's a reason for that, you know? Yeah. Like for people who want those solo shoots and stuff, it's really hard. Like, cause sometimes people want like graduation photos and stuff. And I'm going through Pinterest boards and just so that I have suggestions in case they don't have anything. But it's tough because it's like, that's not what I was hired for. But those are things you got to kind of prep for just in case, because that will make them tell people she was a terrible photographer. Yeah. Just because I didn't know how to pose you. Yeah. And, you know, clients need to know like how to do their own research for certain things because we just got the camera.
These are one of many nightmare clients, you know, and it's also like another reason why I want to dive more into the artistry form of it. Cause like, I feel like once you get into that point, it's like, and I'm not saying I'm like better than anyone else. It's just, I see the value of my work. I see what my vision, like where my vision can take me. And it's also like, that's where I feel fulfilled. And it's like the only person that I have to deal with is my own self. Because you are your own worst critic, you know? So as artists, we tend to do that, but I rather deal with my own self. And honestly, it could be a gift and a curse because your demons can be portrayed in your art. Yeah. And that alone can be so relatable to so many different people than dealing with a client about like, yo, why is the cake in the back? I don't want it there. Yeah. You know, like,
yeah, it's stuff that just doesn't matter as much. And like, I could even say that even me with this podcast, like, I feel like I've learned a lot about myself because I know, like you said, demons, and like, obviously my case isn't necessarily demons, but there are things that are relatable for people where like, sometimes I'm awkward. Or sometimes I'm like fighting the words for something. Or sometimes you could see the equations in my brain just floating around like, what the fuck do I say next? You know, and I'm like freaking out. Yeah. And people understand. People are like, you know what? I felt that. Like, it's just
100%. Yeah.
And it's stuff that's not intentional. That's literally just me being. But in the same way, it's like, you know, this is just me talking. This is who I am. And I'm being as intentional as possible with everything that I'm saying and everything that I put together and prepped and stuff. But there are things that are just going to slip through the cracks that is like, it's just me. And, you know, people relate or they don't relate, whatever.
I feel like that's what's missing in a lot of just, and I want to say companies, any job you do, just be relatable because, and I always tell people this, that like, especially like influencers who are trying to build a brand, they're like, yo, like, what can I do better? Or I'm like, put yourself. Put yourself in front of the camera. Just be vulnerable because at the end of the day, whether this fails and you want to pursue a career in singing or whatever else you choose to do, people love you for you. So they will support you. But when you don't have a face and it just feels like you're trying to sell something, it's like,
that's all you are.
Next, swipe.
Like there's so many, like I hate when people be like, oh, the market's so saturated. Like, yes, there's so many of the same thing out there everywhere. Yeah. But there's only one you. Oh. And that's what you're selling. You're selling yourself because even me with my videography and photography, when people remember that I dance with like the crowd and stuff, whenever like, cause there's a certain point at the reception where you're like, okay, everybody's way too drunk for this, but I'm still getting paid. I'm just gonna do a little dancey dance or whatever. And people remember that. There have been so many times that people remembered me and I've been referred to brides as friends and grooms as friends. Cause they're like, who was that photographer? The one that was dancing? Cause there's me and then there's probably two other photographers and there's another videographer. Yeah. Or I'm the videographer, whatever the case is. But they remember the one who was dancing. Oh, they remember the one who was like getting the crowd going and stuff. And that's what I sell because that's who I am. And that's what I would have done if I was a guest. You know, like I feel like that's all part of it. And even starting this podcast, I think I went the other way around where I was always venting on social media. And I was like, I could turn this into something because I was just always talking about very real life things. And I was just I would just get very real out of nowhere on my Instagram story, my close friends and be like, you know what? It's really hot outside. And you know how you know it's hot outside? Because my mustache is sweating. Like, you know? And it's like, and people were like, yo, that's real. That's real. And I'm like, yeah, but it's only for like, the 7 people in my close friends. And I'm like, you know what? Like other people can relate and people are getting way too perfect online. Mm-hmm. It's time for me to step in, baby. Something that you and I had talked about too, about just anything creative is how like the hardest thing to do is start. And I think that that's something that's like really important for anybody who is looking to get into the creative space. Because honestly, like when you think about it and you have a dream to do something, you want to start that Instagram page or you want to, you know, become an influencer, you want to do whatever it is you want to do. The hardest part really is just like doing the damn thing. Yeah. Because I feel like everyone has so many ideas. Like once I start posting, I can do this and I can post this in my stories and I can interact with fans like this. But you can't do any of it unless you become, you know, that one cringy friend that people find from high school. They're like, oh, she's starting a podcast. Look, what's she doing? She got like 50 followers. I don't know what she's about. But you have you got to be okay with being that person. You got to be okay with knowing nothing. That really is it too. You got to be okay with knowing that you know nothing and being really open to learning.
Yo, it's so funny because at first I was so like nervous about speaking on camera, especially. Mm-hmm. And I remember, again, this goes back to my cruise ship contract. I used to vlog like on my stories every day, like where I was at. And I used to do this whole thing. I used to be like, yo, what to do? Here's your boy, JP. Yeah. And I was doing it just for the fun of it. And then eventually people started like, when they were meeting me or they were sending me videos like, yo, what to do is your boy, JP. Yeah. Like they were just making fun of it. But I was like, I like it.
Yeah, y'all caught on.
Y'all caught on.
Like, I'm likable. Y'all like this.
I should put that on a shirt. Yo, what it is your boy.
Yeah.
Ideas.
No.
But yeah, no, the hardest thing is to start, you know, I've met lawyers, I've met doctors who make really good money. And they're like, man, I wish I did what you do. And I'm like, I wish I made the money you make.
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, I don't have time. I'm like, make it. Make time for it.
My thing is just like, bro, you got the story. Lawyer turned influencer. You got an audience right there. People are like, what is that about?
If I was a lawyer, you know how many shots I'd be taking of my cases? Dude, oh my God.
There's so many things. Like, but then that's where it comes in. It's like, are you willing to put in the work? And do you have the will to do it? And if not, then it wasn't meant for you. Because at the same time, like, being creative in general is just, you have to want to do it for no money. Because in order to be successful with it and make the amount of money, the amount of money that the average, like, you know, not average, but yeah, the average, like, huge influencer makes, you have to do it for no reason. The only reason being because you want to and it makes you happy.
Yeah.
Because if not, then you're not you're not gonna get anywhere.
Yeah. You know, I read a book a while back ago, and I call this book my Bible, The Secret. And it's about the law of attraction.
Oh
and
my
it's
God,
literally
bro! My
like
grandmother, she loved that. Okay,
you like it's the truth though. Like you could say, oh, I wish I did this, I wish I did that. No, like
you have it.
do
It's
it.
yours.
Like you have to make the universe kind of give you what you're asking for. If you
Speaking my
don't ask,
language.
you will never receive. So I wish I drove a Ferrari. Yo, put that Ferrari on your vision board. Like start saving money for it. Start doing things that you're intentionally every day. Like, yo,
Mm-hmm.
these $10 will be for my Ferrari. Like, you know, it's stuff like that. And one
Yup.
day you're gonna drive that car. And also invest, very important thing.
Yeah.
Invest in different business ventures, because you want multiple sources of income. But do it. That's the
Yeah.
part.
No, you were speaking my language with all that right there. The whole speaking things pretty much into existence, but behind it, it's the intention and the action behind it. Cause it's like people love saying just like, oh, all like the Instagram girlies with like their crystals and stuff. I'm one of them. I am. But not in the way that they've ruined it for the rest of us. Because they just love saying like, oh, like everything's yours. You already have it and everything's fine. You just gotta think about it and it's yours. And it's like, no, you need to like, it's the energy you put out that comes back to you. If you're just saying it, yeah, that's energy, but it's very empty energy. If you're working your ass off and you're just like, oh my God, I don't even know how to, like, the best example is like in 2020 when I really started like really getting into videography, I did everything for free. For a whole year, I was just getting outside and everybody was doing events outside because it was COVID.
Mm-hmm.
So I was just like, okay, everybody has all these events. They're all public. They're all outside. I was looking online for any like posters, banners, whatever about anything that was happening. And I would hit them up and be like, hey, would you mind if I did a video for you? It's going to be free. If you hate it, that's fine. You don't have to use it, but just allow me to use it in my portfolio. That's it. Of course, everybody was going to say yes. It's a free video and they don't have to use it. There's no pressure from me. And there's no pressure on my end either because I'm not worried about if they like it because it's free. Like you get what you pay for. You didn't pay for anything. So I did that. And for me, it was just like, that was the beginning of everything. Like, I'm not going to lie. Like 7 put me on to like a nice group of people who have followed me into like, the later part of my life. And it's just crazy how things started with him because I hit him up and I was like, hey, I'd love to, work on video with you. And that was it. It was just because I liked the poems that he had around because like his following was low himself. So it was just like, I just like this stuff and I want to work. And I know that you're local and you're nearby. He was like, sure, let's work. Bro, there was one event I did with him with a girl who, what's it called? With a girl who was working on something called the Kids Peace Movement. And it was an event at a park and it was just like a bunch of kids and stuff. And I did a video for them for free. 2 years later, she hits me up and she's like, hey, like I'm working with this event company. Would you like to work with us? Like, I remember you from 2 years ago. You still do video? Like, I'd love to work. And I was like, yeah, sure. And now her and I are really good friends.
Nice.
And through her, I've met so many more people and gotten so many other gigs and things that I wouldn't have thought I've been able to, get otherwise. But it's all about it's one of those things too. It's all about like who you know. But putting yourself out there because none of that was a coincidence. Like people love saying like no, it's not. It's because I was putting in the work myself beforehand. And it's because I've been putting in the work and I continue to, that the opportunities are coming. Yeah. Because like my boyfriend loves to say, he's always like, you're a magnet for success and like all that stuff. And like, sometimes I'm just like, yeah, whatever. But it's true. Like there are too many things that happen to me that it's not coincidence. I put a lot of trust in the universe, but I also have a lot of trust in myself. And I think that the combination of both will get you where you need to go. You just need to have the will, the passion, and I wouldn't even say the time because you make the time. Yeah. Like it's the will and the passion. Yeah.
That's like kind of how I started in the beginning of photography as well. Like I was getting all these brands like, hey, product for content, and I was like, yeah, cool, just to wet my feet. But like, that was me actively like doing it and building that portfolio. And eventually I'm like, 2K, please.
Yeah, bro. Yeah.
Deposit now.
Yup.
Bruh. Also, guys, for those of you, can you stop paying artists on Net 30?
What's that?
Net 30?
What? Yeah, what?
Oh my God. So like I've worked with a lot of clients who are like, yeah, we want you to shoot for 3 days and do all of this. But once the payment gets processed, it's like Net 30. So you get paid within 30 days. And it's like, So I just wasted 3 days. Shooting for
Yeah.
you, wasting money on gas, money, tolls, all this and that, 12-hour shoots, and I don't get paid for 30 days. That is one of my biggest pet peeves in the
Oh,
industry.
no.
So it's either net 15 or net 30. And I'm just like, you guys have the money. Somebody has the budget here to get me paid right now.
Oh, no.
Oh,
No.
yep.
Wow.
Not even a week,
Yeah.
bruh.
No, that's crazy. No, I could, just a thought about, no. But I'm sure it's a hefty check though.
Of course, yeah. I mean,
That's what makes it worth it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then sometimes it's like, it's just 5K. Like,
Yeah.
it's just 5K. That's rent.
No, seriously. In New
But rent's
York.
tomorrow, so you know.
Yeah. Oh my. No, I couldn't handle that. I don't even like, because like some people, I mean, I might be telling too much, whatever. Depending on the situation, for some people, I'm like 50% deposit and then you pay me the rest at the shoot.
Yeah, that's what I usually do.
But then there are some, and I don't know why I had got caught up in this mess, because the only reason I ever do this is because they caught me when I was still young and I was starting out the video stuff. What I used to do was 50% by the day of the shoot, and then you get the rest when I send you the project.
I used to do that.
And yeah, and the only reason I'm still stuck with them is because they've been with me forever, so I know they're gonna send the money. And it's only like, I wanna say like 3 or 4 people, but my thing is they've been working with me ever since. So
Yeah.
I'm like, you're fine. They're my people who like are the lovely clients, the one that feed
Yep.
me and all that good stuff. And that they text me with the deposit already sent. And
Yeah,
they're
love
like,
that.
this is the date. And I'm just like, you know what?
Love it.
That's okay, because I know you're gonna pay me, everything's fine. But I would never do that now, because it's
Yeah.
just like, because then there's that weird blurry line of, when I send you the project is when the project is done. So I'm expecting the payment immediately. But then to them, it's like, well, if I have any tweaks on it, then the project isn't done. So I'm not paying until all the tweaks are completed. And then you don't want to be that unprofessional person who's like up their ass through the emails, like, okay, like time to pay the rest of the balance.
Before I
And
send you this.
things get real weird real fast.
Yeah.
So I learned the hard way.
Oh, yeah.
But I got lucky with the clients who I still do that with. So I'm like, okay, we're good. But with that being said, to think about waiting 30 days, because you're thinking immediately, like if you need to eat, and like you said, like you pay, even paying for Ubers on the way or paying for gas or whatever, that's money you lost now that you're not seeing for 30 days.
And it's not even just that. Like I've had instances like, man, I had this one project that was in the middle of it, and it was with Mercedes-Benz. They were supposed to send me a car, everything. We were storyboarding, I kid you not, for like 6 months.
What?
6 months of me just storyboarding and taking images and sending it to them and creating like little samples for them. 6 months. And I was asking for a deposit, right?
Yeah.
When it came down to it, they were like, yeah, we're just not going to do this project. I wasted 6 months of moving stuff around. So that's another reason why I asked for a deposit, so I don't lose money. Because if we set on a date that you're like, yeah, we're going to shoot something on this date, if you cancel, I still make my money.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
because
we
you're
can
saying
always
no to
reschedule.
other things that come with the same day. Yeah.
I just canceled on someone, and guess what? Maybe that person now is like, yeah, I'm not going to go back and shoot with you. You know?
Yeah.
But at least I made money on this collateral. That's what I call it.
But with the mindset that we have, though, maybe that client wasn't meant for us. You know, maybe it was the universe, you know, being like, you know, there's a reason for it all.
Did y'all bet on like 6 months, bro? 6 months?
No, you got me there. Yeah,
that's half a year.
Yeah, I was gonna. Yeah.
Black Friday got cut short. Okay.
Yeah. My fault, gangster. But
so good.
We live, we learn. We live and we learn. Yep. But you mentioned earlier, like about like imposter syndrome and like all the things that come with just being creative. Like, what do you have to say about just the mental health? Like how, I don't want to say fragile, but just the state of the, you know, the mental health of a creator of anything. What's that like? Yeah.
Man. Oh, it got heavy in the room.
Yeah.
Yo, mental health, especially as an artist, is a toll. Like I said, I left my crib at 17.
Mm-hmm.
So I've had to figure it out. And it's one of those things too, where like in this world, the richest of the rich are businessmen. You know, businesswomen, businessmen, just people who are educated in the sense of business. As artists, especially the percentage of artists are either college dropouts or they just got their GED or something like that, or school doesn't work for them because our minds work on a different spectrum.
Mhm.
So you're out in the world trying to make money, but you're not financially educated and you're not making the right moves to set yourself up for success. So, and this is something I'm learning now. Like it's crazy because I went all these 10, 11 years as an artist and I blew money. I blew money
Mhm.
thinking I was making so much money, video
Yeah.
shoot, 4K, 10K, and I was just blowing it instead of like having the financial education to like, hey, invest, do this,
Mhm.
taxes. Yo, especially as artists, like you have to do that yourself.
Yeah.
The client does not do it for you.
Mhm.
So it's one of those things where like this year, yo, like I learned so much from like, wealthy clients that I've worked with. Shout outs to
Mhm.
them for putting me on game. But like you have to itemize and I'm talking financial because most of people's stresses and
Mhm.
people that deal with depression are
Yeah.
because of finances.
Yes.
How am I going to eat? How am I going to take care of my kids? How am I going to live tomorrow?
Yes.
How am I going to take the train?
Mhm.
Like fully being transparent. How am I going to take the train was me a week ago. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So like as like successful as people might seem on social media, as artists, we go through it up until maybe a celebrity picks us up and now we're like doing that with them, but you have to like set yourself up for success with that
Yeah.
financial education. But yeah, no, mental health is it's so important. And I've gotten to points where I can't even shoot. I don't even
Mhm.
want to pick up my camera. I don't even want to dance. It's just like, what am I doing? And no matter what I take, it's like I delete it. I'm like,
Really?
shit, I can't put this out, or I don't know what to edit, or I don't want to leave my house.
Yeah.
It's those things that like Robin Williams, you would think
Mhm.
such a talented and amazing person, and look, he took his life. It's one of those things that we all deal with. We don't speak about it, especially men.
Mhm.
Us men don't talk about our emotions and the things we go through. So imagine being a man, a freelancer in a
Mhm.
world that
No, and in a world where women are very, for whatever reason, just very into the whole like he's got to have money,
he's got to have money.
he's got to have everything.
Yo, shout outs to my girl, cause
Mhm.
my girl, she's a nurse. She makes her money, but she respects my artistry so much.
Mhm.
And she's like, babe, you do what you gotta do. And please, yo, like, don't depend on a man
Mhm.
to like have it. Because at the end of the day, when the dude leaves, you back on your own.
Yeah.
You gotta have your own thing.
Yeah.
But if your man has a passion and that's what makes him happy, remember, you will get treated in a certain energy. Like I'm
Mhm.
happy, I'm gonna make you happy as well. Like,
Yeah.
like obviously, but it's just one of those things where like support your man's dreams. Like it's not always about like if they got it or not.
Yeah.
Sometimes those guys that got it are total douchebags.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I have my fair share. But
Caught him.
but what I can say, and I think that this is on it goes for like both sides, where as a creative, I think it's really important because at first I thought that it doesn't matter what my significant other does for a living or what they understand about what I do.
As long as they have something going on, though.
Yeah,
for
of course.
sure.
My thing is that I realize that doing what I do with video and just with cameras and just being in the creative space at all, I need someone who understands what I'm doing. When would hate it. Well, this has happened before where like I've been like editing something and somebody's like, "Oh, like you're just editing videos," and it's like, "Oh, so you think my job is a joke?" Understood. Or they think that I don't need quiet time or focus time to work, or that when I'm like storyboarding something or I'm like planning out a concept for a video, they're like, oh, like you just do it in like 5 minutes. No, I can't. If I want it to be good, no, I can't. And I feel like you need someone who understands the creative process. Doesn't mean they have to be an artist themselves. Just someone who respects it enough. That's literally it.
And
Just someone who respects what you do.
most people don't, and that's why we're here also speaking on this to bring awareness. You know how many times I've had clients message me, hey, I love your work. Oh my God, I want to work with you so bad. How much would you charge me just to take 2 photos of me?
Mm-hmm.
2 photos? And okay, I might say, cool, let's do something more elaborate.
Yeah.
Where you can get more than 2 photos, but like also here's my rate. And they're like, just to take a photo? Bruh.
The thing is, you wouldn't be paying me if you knew how to do this yourself. So if you want something like what I can create and what I do, pay what I charge.
You know
Because
what
you're coming to me because you couldn't find anywhere else.
I usually tell people, you see those Gucci glasses you're wearing? You didn't ask Gucci why those glasses cost $1,000, right? You just went there, you paid, and you're wearing something that you could lose, break, and anything could happen to it within seconds. But you didn't ask, oh, why $1,000? You just paid it. Why? Quality.
Yeah.
It's the brand. So that's why.
But they're not paying for quality in particular. It's more the brand.
Oh,
because in a lot of situations, not ragging Gucci, you got some good stuff. But you know,
I could find those Gucci glasses for like $5 in
on
Chinatown.
Temu.
Temu, bro. Yo, them Chinatown hustlers, bro.
Bro, oh my gosh.
Crazy.
No, it was my mom's a Temu fanatic. Temu is a very regular name in my household.
I gotta dive into it. I've heard good stuff about it.
No, I'm not gonna lie, there are some things though that it costs like $3 and you're like, yo, this is some good stuff.
Yeah.
It's very hit or miss. Yeah. Little side note on Temu. I'm sorry. I support fast fashion and all that stuff that you're not supposed to.
Does it work?
Live in.
It works, right?
Yeah.
It works.
Like, I'm sorry. That's one of those things though, back to like our whole cancel culture thing. That's one of those things that I feel like I would get ragged for if I had a little more followers or whatever. You know what? I'm gonna be famous by the time this comes out. So let me shut up.
People are funny though, because they'll say that, but then they're doing it. You know what I'm saying? Like, bro, a shirt at Supreme sells for $85 and it has a Supreme logo on it. I could get it for $5, print that thing out myself and customize it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like, do what you do. Like,
yeah.
If it makes you happy and
live,
it works for you.
Laugh, love.
Yeah.
For as long as you're not hurting anybody else.
Yeah.
I don't think my mom's Temu obsession is hurting anybody but her bank account. And that's her problem. So.
That's crazy.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. But I think that's a nice neutral spot to end on. Do you have any last words for the people listening and watching at home?
Just be intentional with everything. I feel like that's the lack that people are lacking. The trait that people are lacking is they just want to do stuff because they see other people doing it and think it might work. It might work for them. Or just be intentional. Does that really fulfill you? Like, make sure it fulfills you. You're happy. And also, like, if you die today, what are you leaving behind? Stop following the trends. Like, leave something with substance behind that a lot of people are like, damn, I remember that guy said something and that really stuck by me and now I want it on a shirt. You know, like, but it's one of those things where like you can always look back at it and feel motivated and feels a positive way.
Yeah.
And also like even with branding, sorry, I'm about to bring this back up.
You're good.
But I saw somebody like hit me up the other day and they're like, oh, hey, support my brand. And their brand was like, oh my God, I might get canceled for this.
Go crazy.
Be toxic or some shit like that. And I was like, so this is what you want to promote?
And you think that I fit this image?
And you think that I fit this image?
Yeah.
And I said, I'm sorry, I'm not buying stuff from you because this is not something I would promote and this is not positive. Be toxic. Why you all trying to be toxic for? Like,
the Gen Z kids.
Bro.
They learn a new word every year and it becomes the thing.
Yeah. But on that note.
Just ragging on Gen Z. Well, what do I have to say? I got nothing per usual. I talk too much on these podcasts anyways. I think we're good if I don't say anything. Thank you for watching and thank you for listening. And please like, comment, subscribe or whatever your streaming service or watching service, whatever it is you're listening on, tells you to do. And I think we're done. That's a wrap. So thank you for watching all that good stuff and we'll see you next week.
Hell
Bye.
yeah.